Hi everybody, it's been a while and I'm still doing it telepathically. How are you guys doing? Let's talk about the Vegas trip we went to on my birthday. Yeah, Vegas. So I went to a place called Rogue Toys. Look it up. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it's near the old part of Vegas. They have a lot of retro toys, a lot of Transformers, a lot of retro stuff, very nostalgia, everything from the 80s up to current times. Dick Tracy toys there. A lot of good stuff crammed into a very small space. You got to check it out. It's more in like the industrial downtown part of Vegas, but it was really cool. Definitely worth your visit, worth your time. This is their one store of two. The second store is in another area, which you have to take the freeway to get to. I really can't tell you how to get there. You got to look it up. Rogue Toys. They have quite a selection of Star Wars toys from the old trilogy up into the prequels. Nothing current or brand spanking new, because that's all coming out in stores soon. But a lot of stuff in glass cases, a lot of expensive stuff, very vintage, the 12-inch dolls, all that good stuff. I actually found a couple characters I was looking for there. This is the other store. This is the giant USS Flag G.I. Joe ship they have on display. I don't know if it's for sale, but it's huge and you get to see it in person. That's cool. This store's got a lot more space, as you can see. Just looked around. This is where I found some Muscle He-Man stuff that was pretty cool. This is the Toy Shack. They're actually in the old part of Vegas where the old casinos and stuff is. They also cram a lot of stuff into one tiny area, but they have a lot to work with. So you see they have giant shelves full of toys stacked on each other. You got the whole rack of Hot Wheels toys. You got display cases after display cases. You can get lost in this store. It's pretty cool. They really focus on cars. I mean, I would say half of the store is all Hot Wheels cars and other assorted die-cast metal cars. They have a Simpsons section. Haven't seen that in a while. And they also have a huge section of retro Star Wars figures from the vintage lineup. Power Force and Phantom Menace and Clone Wars and yada yada yada. Now on to the Pinball Hall of Fame. This is the Star Wars pinball machine I go for. It's the retro one from the 90s. I think the late 90s, but yeah, it's my favorite Star Wars pinball. They have a ton of pinball machines in here. I mean, a lot. Pretty much anything you can think of, they pretty much have. Creature from the Black Lagoon with the color LED, that's pretty cool. Doctor Who right next to it, Twilight Zone. And the likes. They have tons of pinball, and they have some retro vintage games too, like Miss Pac-Man. They got Mario Brothers down there. They actually have a Mario pinball too. You don't see that a lot. The haunted house next to it there. They even have a really, really rare one that was like a prototype. Oh, Revenge from Mars is right there. They got claw games, crane games. Yeah, they have the Transformers pinball. They have Theater of Magic, Dark Knight, Batman. Some of the newer stuff too. I think the newest pinball machines are there, as well as some of the oldest ones. A lot of Data East ones you don't see. The Elvira one, Jurassic Park. That's the Sega Star Wars there. And this is a place right across the street called Gamers Paradise. They have literally a museum of console stuff, like the Pokemon Snap Blockbuster kiosk that I haven't seen since it was at Blockbuster, and those aren't even around anymore. All the consoles you can think of, from Japanese, American, everything. Computers, they have games, cartridges, everything. It's a good store to visit too. And of course, no trip to Vegas would be complete without going to the actual Vegas Strip. Now, I'm not a gambler, so I really don't spend too much time on this trip. I like to go for the architecture and the arcades, of course, that are in there. And we usually hang out around New York, MGM Grand. Here's the Excalibur with their fun dungeon, which used to have a lot of arcade games, but now Ticket Redemption is the name of the game. Ticket Redemption, everything. It's teaching the kids how to gamble so they can get prizes and whatnot. Because, you put $1 in and you might not get anything. There's a Pac-Man Battle Royale game. That's pretty cool. Deal or No Deal, which you'll see a bunch of times in all these places, because it's also kind of a gambling simulator. They even have some, carnival type games in there, and there's a claw game. There's one of those stacker games. I mean, check out the carpets, check out all the lights and everything. It's definitely overstimulation going on here. A lot of sensory overload that I like in arcades, so that's cool. They have the Smack an Alien thing that I think was originally in Toy Story, and someone actually made it into a game, so that's cool. So when I first set foot in here, I thought it was going to be nothing but Ticket Redemption games and stuff like that, but turns out they actually have some games. They have some arcade games, but they're in their own little section here. They have, Transformers arcade game, and they have all those new racing games that are by that third party that makes okay games. Nothing you can write home about, nothing you really care about. That's nothing like Sega would make or something like that. Anyway, the point is, this is an actual pretty up-to-date arcade at Excalibur. So So now let's go back to 2012. When we went to Vegas, they had the Sega Gameworks. As you can see down here, it's kind of in the basement, but they had all the games that everybody else has. It was all Sega games, and the architecture is all industrial. It was really cool. It was like in a bunker. It was supposed to give you this Area 51 feel. And they had Sonic Fighting. You never see this game anywhere. Sonic Fighters. It's classic. You can get on the GameCube now, I think, and some retro collections out there, but this was the only arcade stand-up version I saw of it ever, so this was always, nostalgic for me. Would always play it there. Anyway, they also had the House of the Dead moving motion game for House of the Dead 4. They had that for like about half a year or something. I guess it was on loan or something from Japan. Anyway, 2015, it's a Ross. Enough said. They got rid of it. Anyway, Taylor Swift was in there for a concert. She had a giant tarantula spaceship with her. And then there's F-Zero Arcade, which is another rare find. That's in Circus Circus. Overall, I was really pleased with Circus Circus's arcade. They had a lot of good games, a lot of classic giant cabinets that you don't see anymore because they're too big to put in an arcade. They take up a lot of space. But they also have the Circus Circus Thunderdome, which is an amusement park, roller coaster, and all that good stuff. It's not a separate admission or anything, but if you want to play it, you got to pay for tickets and stuff. And they had a lot of good arcade games. They have new stuff like Batman. I really like the design of the Circus Circus Thunderdome because they have a lot of games tucked around in corners. It's like, seriously, an indoor amusement park. Something on the kin to, I don't know, Magic Mountain or Great America. But it's all self-contained. They use it for Halloween to make it their haunted house area, so that's pretty cool. And then, all the windows outside, you can see the sunset. It's still one of the highlights of Vegas for me to come visit because there's just nothing quite like it out there on the Strip. And they have some classics that are showing their age, but, they do have quite an extensive amount of video games to come check out, along with all the rides and amusement stuff. Just to walk around is cool. So that was the Strip pretty much in a nutshell. And then the next day we went to Gameworks' new location, which is way out there. It's still considered to be on that same street, but it is like a mile or two. You got to drive to go get to it. The games they have are all current. Nothing you haven't seen in Dave & Buster's, but at the same time, it's a nice, healthy selection. I was impressed. It's a very nice arcade. I just wish it was closer on the Strip like it used to be, because that was cool if you had your hotel out there. So, they have a lot of the same games. They got some pinball there, so that's cool. They have a bowling alley in the back there, and then there's, Tekken 5 and some, like I said, some of the same stuff you see everywhere else. They also have a giant room for LAN party games. Nobody was in there when we were there, but I'm sure they stock up on Friday nights and people are all there playing Call of Duty or whatever they play online, World of Warcraft and League of Legends, all that good stuff. But yeah, they had the Afterburner arcade game, that pirate game there. Yeah, see, here's the LAN party room. Obviously no one was there. I think it was Sunday morning or something like that when we were there. So obviously no one was there to play games yet, but they got quite a setup. And then they also have couches for console gaming, because if you don't want a console at home and you want a console with some friends somewhere, I guess this is the place to be. So, like I said, it's not much to look at, but remember those net cafes they used to have everywhere? That's kind of what it reminds me of. So, on our way back from Vegas, of course, we had to stop at the Area 51 jerky place that sells Alien Fresh Jerky. The whole theme is, UFOs, like the 90s UFOs from alien abduction stuff. And they have, a little alien space car there with the alien bodies in there and stuff. It's an all cute theme, alien stuff. Totally got the X-Files vibe, so had to check it out. Totally alien-centric, from jams, jellies, honeys, almonds, cookies. It's basically a gas station stop, but everything's alien themed. So, where else are you going to see that? You don't see that very much in America. So, we checked it out. I had to get some alien jerky myself to try it out. It's a very expensive jerky, though. Abducted cow beef jerky. It's very delicious. Oh, pineapple teriyaki. That's what it was. Overall, I'd say it was okay. It was nothing to write home about, but I made a video about it. So, there you go. That's Vegas this year. See you guys. That show is over. Subscribe to Rad Guy 25 channel on YouTube.